This is homework help for 8.2 guided practice number 5. And just as a warning, this problem does not have integer answers, so they're either going to be a fraction or a decimal depending how you want to write it. So for number 5, I'm hoping a lot of people are watching this because there's a couple things that could mess you up here. So again, we need to look at the equation and figure out what variable would be really easy to solve for. So in the first equation, x would not be a good one to solve for first because, or to get by itself, because you would have to divide by 6. And 4 divided by 6 is a fraction. This is really a 1 here. Divided by 6 is a fraction. We're not going to do that. But you can see that we have a 1y here, so solving the first equation for y would be super simple. In the second equation, if you solve for y, it's going to be a little more difficult because you have to divide by -4. So 19 divided by -4 is not going to be an integer, and neither is 1 divided by -4. So we would not want to do that. But it's really easy to solve for x in the second equation, because if you add 4y to both sides, then you're done. So you can take either route. I will set up both of them. So let's do solving the first one for y first. So if we take that first equation and we solve it for y, all we have to do is subtract 6x from both sides. And then we're left with y equals -6x plus 4. And remember, this is actually called slope-intercept form when you solve for y. Now that we have it solved for y, we can substitute this expression back in for y into the other equation. So here's where a couple things come into play. So let's write this equation. So we're going to write x and then minus and then 4. So remember, we write everything that we see until we hit the y. That's when we write this expression. Since this number is in front of the y, then -4, we have to put parentheses. So we will go ahead and put a parenthesis and then substitute the expression -6x plus 4. Then we write the rest of the equation, which is equals 19. So what you have to be careful of here is we are not just distributing the 4, we're actually distributing a -4 because it's minus. So I'll go ahead and do this one with you. So we still have the x, and then -4 times -6 is positive 24x. So adding 24x. And then -4 times positive 4 is -16. So you're either adding a -16, or you can just say -16 equals 19. And then you should be able to finish that one. And then once you do that, and remember, you're going to get a decimal answer or a fraction, whichever you want to do here, because it's terminating, then you need to plug that back in for y into either of the equations to solve for y. Plug it back into the other equation to confirm your answer for y. So now I'll go ahead and do the other setup, where you are going to solve the second equation for x first instead. So remember, it doesn't matter which way you do it, you should end up with the same answer if you did it correctly. So let's take that second equation and we're going to solve it for x. So all you need to do is add 4y to both sides. So you get x is equal to 4y plus 19. Now since we have x by itself, we can plug in this expression, 4y plus 19, in for x into the other equation. So we're going to write everything we see until we see x. So I see a 6 first, now I see the x. So I'm going to use parentheses because, again, since we have something in front of the x, we are going to have to use the distributive property. So instead of x, we're going to write this expression, and it's going to be 4y plus 19 here instead of x. Then don't forget the rest of the equation. Some people have been forgetting to do that. You have a plus y after the 6x. That's still on the left side of the equation, then equal to 4. Now you use distributive property and finish solving the equation. There's no negatives or anything that should mess you up here, so just distribute the 6, finish solving for y, then plug back y into either of the equations and solve for x. And then confirm your answer by plugging y back into the other equation to make sure you get the same answer for x. Be careful when you're plugging back in with this negative. Always use a calculator to help confirm your answers. And remember, you're going to get a decimal for both the x and the y values. If you have any questions, make sure to email me or text me through Remind.